Welcome back, YouTube. This is Flanley at Flanley Gaming. You ever play an MMO solo? I don't mean just logging on one day and playing a little bit by yourself. I mean, really just for any length of time. I played World of Warcraft for 20 years, and I've always been a social player. Raids, dungeons, guilds, the whole package. But I ran across a video by, I'm going to butcher her name. I'm sorry about that. Angelikatosh. This is video. It's about playing solo, which actually made me think that could a solo WoW experience be worth trying? I don't know. Let's break it down.
You know when you're a kid and you go to school and you have all these friends that have the same interests as you? You go home after school with the excitement that you'll get to meet all your friends in this other world by logging into your favorite game and playing together for hours on end until your mom yells at you to go to bed. Or maybe the people in your school don't play games with you, but you're such a social kid and you seem to fit in wherever you go. You find it easy to fit in with groups of people online who you can share games with. But as the years go on and you get older, you start to notice that the people that you regularly hang out with in-game are not coming online as regularly as you are. Maybe they're...
Ooh, and that does happen. I've been to many a different servers inside of WoW by itself, and it's really bad with the classic servers. Like, people get a quick fix of that, that nostalgia, but then once that newness is gone and it's the same old, them servers fall fast. Retail, I guess there's always a certain amount of people on, especially the seasons, like the season of mastery and the season of discovery. I mean, those are meant to be short term, but you're still meeting friends. You're still meeting people. You don't want to lose contact with them. If for me, if you ask me, hey, Flanley, what's the best expansion WoW's ever had? Well, Lich King, of course. But that's when my guild was the best. Oh, not that we were performing our best at that time, but I was closest to those people. There's a direct correlation to how well you get along with your guild mates and to how much fun you're having. There's nothing worse than being, it's a chore to show up for a raid versus it's exciting to show up because you can't wait to get on there and they're cutting up and they're having fun. Now, you don't want them to cut up to the point where it's affecting the raid where you can't clear the content. Like early on in raids, I prefer it to be a little more serious so you can clear the content. But as time goes, you want it to loosen up. If you got a stodgy guild and and it's all serious all the time, you're just not gonna, that's just not any fun. And the number one things these MMOs have to understand, in my opinion, is it's not about how hard the content is. How fun is it? Are you enjoying yourself? And a lot of that has to do with the people you run with.
They're playing while you're busy, or some eventually log out for the last time without warning and are never...
And that being said, it's really sad when you lose contact with those people. You usually don't notice it right then, but when you look back, it like hits you a little bit sometimes. It's like, man, I had a really good group of people I used to run with. Now we just lost contact. And every now and then you'll run across some, you done moved on to different guilds and new people, there's a lot of good people in all the MMOs. So it's nice that you can reestablish people that you enjoy running with, but you do remember some of those guys you cut your teeth with, and you kind of miss them a little bit.
Seen again. You lose touch with these people because as your life gets busier, you don't really have time to reply to the Skype message that's been sitting in your notification for weeks. And when Skype eventually became outdated, not everybody knew that you moved on to Discord or other socials to stay.
Yeah, I never used Skype for gaming. I used Ventrilo, and then eventually, that morphed into Discord. And Discord's way better than Ventrilo ever was, but
contact with you. Maybe you stop checking
One thing
messages
is
there
free.
too. Your life getting busier doesn't necessarily mean that you stop liking the hobbies and things that you loved as a kid. So what happens if you still want to play World of Warcraft, but all your friends are gone and you're not somebody who can easily fit in and make friends online anymore? What if you can't keep up with guilds and other players? Do you get to enjoy the game at all? Is World of Warcraft just done for you at this stage? Today we're going to talk about World of Warcraft as a solo experience. What is it like?
And that being said, look, WoW's a 20-year-old game. If you still playing WoW and you started off, however many years ago, like for me, it's been 20 years. That's some dedication, because I haven't really played any other games. I'm just now breaking off, starting to play some Ashes of Creation, but that's an alpha. That's not a game. That's a test. And, of course, like any alpha, it's still got a lot of problems itself, but where, WoW is a more polished. Now, I haven't played retail in a while, though. I'd like to get, she's actually making me think about get back into retail as a solo player. I might do this.
Like to play the game without friends or other people in general. Before we get started, hi, my name is Angelika, and I actually do have friends. They're all here.
I feel
When this exact scenario happened to me, and I realized that I was all alone in Azeroth, I was kind of sad about it. It sucks not to be able to share this world with other people, especially if that's all you've known. Now, when I first started playing WoW, I was playing it by myself for a long time because I couldn't speak enough English to interact with people in a meaningful way, but that was fine. However, when I finally got to embrace the social element of the game to its full capacity, I realized that when I didn't have it, I really missed it. But as more time passed and I still had the craving to continue playing WoW just because I really love the world and I find comfort in going back to it, I realized that World of Warcraft is perfectly fine as a solo experience. In fact,
I do think that people who don't meet people early on in WoW or any MMO, if you're playing an MMO and you don't connect with people early, you're not going to continue to play that game. You're gonna fall off of that shortly. Where if you meet people and you start playing, then later on down the line, if you want to play it solo, I could see that being doable. But early on, when you first start, you definitely gonna want to play with people.
I think it lets you view the world from a different perspective and arguably even enjoy your time there a lot more. A lot of people don't really like World of Warcraft because of its grindy element. You could say that all the quests are exactly the same. You either have to gather X amount of this thing or slay Y amount of that thing, deliver something, speak to someone, a constant back and forth involving a lot of running around at a moderately slow pace until you reach level 40, and then at a slightly quicker pace, if you're able to afford it, that is. I think that every quest being this.
That's true, but what are your other options? Go kill mobs to level? You got to have something way to level. I mean, if it's a leveling game. Otherwise, what's the game? The reason I'm even mentioning this is because just like she mentioned it, a lot of people complain about that. About it's a grind. They're giving you chores. I get less chores in real life. I get that, but that's part of the game. Either that or you spam dungeons, or you're going to find some kind of mechanic that's going to level you, and it's okay. It's just do your chores and shut up. I'm going to hear all that, so I tell my kids.
Same, more or less, makes it kind of therapeutic. You don't really have to think too much about what you're doing. You can just go on autopilot and fully immerse yourself in the forests, mountains, valleys, and plains of Azeroth. There's no pressure to keep up with anyone or anything. The world moves around you, but you have your own path ahead that will take you where you want to go in your own time. Though this was always a possibility, I only really started to view the world that way after playing Classic in hardcore. I started this experience myself before
I tried hardcore. It's too much for me. Most of the people who do well in hardcore are like streamers and they're getting carried. Very few people are making it just straight grinding to 60. And, And if you are, man, if I ever made it to 60, I'd be hiding in the corner after that. I wouldn't be running the raids. Oh man, I remember the app used to pull up the people who died. You seeing 59 and 60s, 58s. I would be upset when I would die at 17 and 20. I couldn't imagine making it to 60, or even 59 is even worse than 60, because you were almost complete. You were almost at 60, but you don't even have the satisfaction of saying, I made it to 60. All you did is made it to 59. You didn't even make it to 60. So yeah, and then when you make it to 60, you want to be geared out. So, and then, I don't know. It got to where I restarted like 25 times. New character, delete, because you had to delete your character and start over. And after a while, I just said, that's okay. That's when Season of Discovery finally popped, and I enjoyed that a lot.
Or the official hardcore servers launched by using the add-on. This was a third-party add-on created specifically for players who wanted to experience the game this way. And some even say that this was better than the actual hardcore servers, but I'll mention more on that later. The add-on had its own community website, and there you could see the rules that you needed to follow in order for it to be an authentic hardcore experience.
I think that
the rules
that
included
was too
things like
strict
no
for me.
auction house, no player-to-player mail or trading. You could only run each dungeon once per character. But the biggest thing for me was the rule about no grouping, unless you're going to a dungeon. I couldn't understand how people managed without grouping, especially in a death delete scenario. Though it's intimidating, once you get started, you realize that this is actually one of the best ways to enjoy the game, especially now, so many years later.
Well, they would still run together, they just wouldn't
started to
group.
get a bit stale for people. Unless
They
you're
were in
playing
the
on Turtle
vicinity
WoW.
of
Those
each
guys
other,
never seem
and
to
you could
complain
still
about
help
anything.
each other out
But
a
you
little
do
bit.
start to look at the world in a
couldn't trade
completely
or
different
anything,
way.
though.
World of Warcraft being a social game, no grouping was completely unfathomable to me. And yet, it's 100% possible, and in a lot of ways, more fun. First of all, no grouping in a hardcore scenario leaves you in a state where the only person you can rely on is yourself. There's no LFM Hogger, no anyone for Tharl Zun, and certainly no LFG Fenris Isle. This, especially in a hardcore scenario, forces you to get really good at your class.
That's why I
really
like
try and learn how to get the
characters that
most
had
out of your abilities at
pet.
any given
Hunter
level.
was
Maybe even
so
consider
good.
professions to get you through.
But also,
since you can't use the auction
but your
house
pet
or
would get you
trade
in
with
trouble
other
too.
people, so you have to do everything by yourself. In group scenarios, I feel like very
But I
often,
would also
particularly DPS classes,
like the
can get
paladin
away
where I
with
can heal
doing the bare
myself.
minimum. If you're someone like a hunter or a mage, you don't really have to do a whole lot, and you're still able to top DPS meters easily. There's no real need for you to get good at your class, you can rely on other people, and you probably don't even need to fully understand what you're doing at all, and nobody would even notice. When you're alone and you're facing a camp of gnolls or maybe an elite mob for a quest, you have to start using a lot more of your brain to figure out how to defeat the mobs and get out of there alive. You have to exhaust all your resources, plan ahead, and really...
And that's true too. Then even your what you take for your all of a sudden alchemy was like top tier. Cooking become a big deal. All these professions that you may not would have normally thought about. They kind of made their way to the top. Especially alchemy. Alchemy was critical. Your bandages and stuff. Your first aid. So important. Especially if you're a class that doesn't have any healing. Like you're not a paladin or something, or a priest or something. Yeah, you're gonna want first aid to be maxed out, stuff like that. Oh, engineering was so good. You drop those dummies, the target dummies, to get out of a fix.
survive. You need to be making decisions all the time. Is that quest that's in a cave really worth it, or are you going to get whooped when too many mobs respawn at the same time and find you frolicking about? It's all on you, and there are real stakes, because if you make a mistake, you will lose your character right there in that stupid cave. This kind of self-reliance really makes you appreciate playing solo. You're responsible for you. Nobody's holding you back, and you're also able to play the game at your own pace. One thought that I had about playing solo is that you're straight up unable to do certain quests. For example, if you're leveling in Redridge, there are several elite quests there that are kind of a big deal in terms of experience that you get there. And you really need like a dungeon-sized group to get through those. It's true that some scenarios are best avoided when you're by yourself, so you instead get to experience more of the world. Typically, when you're leveling, you have sort of a choice in terms of the zones that you're going to cover in any particular level bracket. Like, you can choose between Westfall, Darkshore, or Loch Modan. Or if you're Horde, you might be looking at the Barrens or Silverpine Forest. When you're by yourself, especially in hardcore, you might actually opt to do all of the zones. For example, when you're questing in Westfall, starting at say level 11, you eventually get to a point when you feel a little underleveled, as the quests that you're doing at level 15 are in areas where a bunch of level 18 mobs are walking around. That might not be a huge difference, but in a hardcore scenario, if you have that level 18 and any other mob attacking you at the same time, you might be cooked. So you take a step back, travel to Darkshore, take the quests that are available there for level 11 onwards, and with the XP you gather, you're then able to return to Westfall and pick up where you left off. I feel like this makes leveling more of a journey and more of an adventure.
Now, I feel like she's talking a little bit more about hardcore, less about just playing solo. I understand hardcore is playing solo, but to me, they're two different things. Solo, you can die and still play solo. Hardcore, if you die, you got to start over. Now, I'm not ever playing that again. I'm not doing that. Somebody would have to entice me with, I'd have to really be challenged to do that again. It's just frustrating. But do I think I could do it? I think I could do it. So that carrot's always dangling out in front of you. And it is an extreme challenge. But little things turn me off to it, like Blizzard could have a server shut down and you get logged out. And well, you get logged out in a bad place. Next thing you know, you're dead. That's it. It's over. It doesn't matter if it's their fault. It has nothing. They don't care. You died. That's all that matters. When I'm thinking about when she's talking about playing solo, is like, look, you can die, but you're still playing solo. And that, because, look, you're going to find yourself, because you're going to find yourself in situations. Like she said, you're killing a 15. Next thing you know, you pull in a 18. You almost got the 15s down. But you're half life. Next thing you know, the dude gets you. You can't run away fast enough. Nets you or something, or you end up fighting them damn Murlocs, and they keep calling people, keep calling more. You're there 30 minutes killing dudes, barely staying alive, but they just keep calling them. So, you can't even hardly run away because they're spawned all around you. It's just like a lost cause. So, there's a lot goes on, but
adventure. You're covering more ground within a particular level bracket. If you're taking advantage of any XP that you can get more or less safely, you might also discover quests in areas of the game that you would have otherwise ignored because you leveled too quickly for them. One such example for me was a quest that you can get between the wetlands and the Arathi Highlands. I always skipped this quest because it was on like a broken off part of the bridge that's really hard to get to. You have to do like really weird parkour to get to it. It had an unusually high amount of XP for it being just a speak to this other NPC in this safe location quest. So I was determined
so many
to
characters
get it.
have
I was
done
at a
this
bit of a
quest like one
standstill in
time.
hardcore in terms of safe quests that I could do without dying, so it was a decent option. Not without its risks, however. The first time I tried it, I nearly had a heart attack. Fell all the way down, but I realized it's more or less safe. You don't die, you end up on water. If you fall right, there is a bit of a platform just before the water that you can land on. Now, I was doing this for a very long time because when you fell into the water, you also had to swim up and go all the way around up the mountain and through a dark iron dwarf camp. So again, it wasn't the safest. It was okay, it was manageable. I eventually did succeed. As you can see, it was quite exciting. I don't remember the last time I was this excited about WoW in a group setting, so for me, this sort of solo, hardcore gameplay really revived the game. I was really happy. And in general, getting things done yourself and not dying in the process was a new kind of rewarding and special, something that no matter how many friends I played with, I just hadn't experienced in WoW for a long time. This was my experience with the add-on. They of course did later release the official hardcore servers, and those didn't restrict player-to-player mail, the auction house, trading, or grouping. I think that this diminished the hardcore experience. It was definitely more hardcore if you were following the add-on. Blizzard seemed to kind of embrace this solo player initiative by adding something called the self-found mode. This did restrict the auction house, mail, and trading, but it didn't restrict grouping, which is why I also personally think that the add-on and the rules that they had there were superior. Just if we're speaking of a more hardcore experience. And this has been my experience as a solo player. Maybe if you're someone like me and you've been playing the game for years, since childhood, as an adult, you'll enjoy the solo experience a lot more. It's sad to think about all the people that you used to hang out with in game that just logged out one day and never came back. But it's nice to remember all the good times with guildmates and just other people you meet in the world and had all these fun interactions with. WoW has always been a social game, but I feel like modern advances in social media and how accessible communication is now really changes the way we interact with people in game. I think that now we are oversaturated with all the different ways in which we can communicate, and I find that even if you look for interaction in WoW these days, people are a lot less responsive and tend to stick to themselves anyway. So becoming a solo player may not have even been a you thing, it's just the landscape isn't the same anymore. But hopefully after this video you can see that it's still possible to get enjoyment out of WoW, just in a different capacity. Also, there's nothing wrong with spending time on your own and learning how to enjoy things for yourself and by yourself. I feel like if you learn to enjoy doing some things alone, in the long run, you'll be able to build more meaningful friendships and relationships in the game and in the real world. After all, if you don't like spending time with yourself, why would anyone else enjoy your company? And that about covers it for this video. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, as always, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Big shout out to my channel members. You guys are great. Thank you so much. And I'll see you all in the next video.
And definitely do that. If you're watching this, look, I piggybacked her content. Please go check her channel out. Like and subscribe on her channel. But, you know, I can use some love too. Like and subscribe on mine as well. So. Yeah, I think she was coming from it, like I was talking about earlier, more from a hardcore angle, which, you know, I'm not delving into that, but I think I might give it a go. I might give a solo run, just, you know, because what it does is it's going to give me just a place to be by myself. You know, sometimes you don't want to be with anybody else. And I've played WoW enough that I don't really have to think. I know where things are. I don't really need a lot of advice from people or, you know, I know where everything's at. And, well, not everything, but I'm just saying, I know where most things are. And where like Ashes, I get lost in the same town I'm in every day. I'm like, bro, I don't know where that's at, you know. You know, so it's just a little bit of a mess for me, and I'm not the best at remembering those things either. So it takes me a little time, a little bit of rote memory on that. But I do understand what she's saying. Well, she's suggesting less stress, less drama, but not so if you're playing hardcore. You're gonna be stressed the hell out. That's very stressful. But if you don't play, if you play solo but not hardcore, yeah, it changes the whole dynamic of what's going on. So yeah, I might give that a go. And you know, you will kind of miss out on, you know, the teamwork and the camaraderie. But this isn't the only game I'll play. So I mean, I have that. This is just a little. If I did this, it would just be like a little hideaway. A little bit on my own. Maybe I could make some good content out of it also. I don't know. But if you made it this far, please comment, like, subscribe. I could use it for sure. Look, if you made it to the end, if there's any content you want me to cover or any suggestions you have about my channel, please comment down below. I'm definitely not opposed to anything to listen. And y'all have a good day. Stay OP.